What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview where every single week I interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate professionals, and straight up top badasses that they're dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, as always, we got another rock star guest on the show. You guys, our guest today, Jennie Lok. She is a young hustler. She is an absolute badass. In 3 short years in her real estate career, she has helped hundreds of families buy and sell real estate, invest in real estate. In 2019, she was the winner of the prestigious 30 Under 30, so 30 Under 30 finalist. And also, you guys, she got into this not just to be a top producer as a real estate agent, but also to become a real estate investor. And in a few short years, she is also, in addition to serving and helping and closing hundreds of transactions, she has also acquired 22 investment properties. And all of this by the age of 26. So she is an absolute badass, and I'm so stoked for all of us to be able to have this opportunity to learn from her journey. Now, real quick, before we jump in, if you are interested in being coached and mentored by me personally for the next 12 months in your real estate business, so if you're a real estate agent, team leader, or brokerage owner looking to grow and scale your real estate business, make sure to check out masterybootcamp.com, where you can learn more about my coaching and mentorship program. You can see testimonials from all the people that have been through the program. We've had 4,000 plus real estate agents come through my mentorship program over the years and are just massively exploding their real estate business. You can also schedule a 100% pressure-free discovery call to learn more about the program, get all your questions answered, and see if this program is a fit for you. So again, if you're interested in being coached and mentored by me personally for the next 12 months of your life, check out masterybootcamp.com. Lastly, if you are looking for a website CRM platform, if you are looking for the most effective, affordable platform that exists in the industry, make sure to check out perfectstormnow.com. This is the personal system that I have, that I use in my real estate business, that allows my team to be one of the top real estate teams in the United States as well as on the planet. So again, check out perfectstormnow.com. All right, guys, let's jump on into Jennie's amazing podcast interview. All right, Jennie, I am so stoked, honored, and excited to have you here on the podcast, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited. Been listening to the podcast and learned a lot from you specifically.
Yeah, no, it truly means a lot. You're a young hustler in the industry. I just noticed that you won the 30 Under 30 finalist for 2019. So congrats on that. And man, you've done so much. I mean, from selling real estate and creating your real estate team, but also on the personal investment side. And you've done so much in it's been 3 or 4 years since you've...
3 or 4 years. Started when I was 23 buying my first house, got in the industry at about 24, and I'm 27 right now.
Yeah, love it. So if we were to, before we get into all the amazing things that you've done in your real estate career and that you're up to today, I always like to rewind the clocks. And I know for you, your entrepreneur journey started way before college or after college. Yeah, right. So if you kind of run the clocks, man, like how did you get the entrepreneur bug, and how did your entrepreneur journey start in the first place?
Yeah, so I actually think back, when was the first time I sold anything? And the actual first thing I think of is sneakers. So I would go on eBay and all these blog websites and look for sneakers and that didn't have good pictures, maybe a little dirty, and then I'd buy them, clean them up, and then resell them, and made a profit from that. I was 12 years old at that time and flipping Jordans and all these Nike sneakers. And I think that bug was in me from translating from my parents. They work really hard. They work 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week. So I saw them out there hustling. I thought that was just normal life because my other friends came from immigrant families as well too. So they had similar backgrounds. So I was like, how do I keep myself busy? So started flipping shoes at 12.
Yeah, love it. So you had the entrepreneur bug, but then, and I think for so many of us, we kind of follow the path of get done with high school, go to college, get a good corporate job, and I know you started on that path. What was it after college when you got in the corporate world? What was it that then, I guess, re-led you back into the entrepreneurial world?
Yes. So I didn't initially want to go to corporate. I actually wanted to become a teacher. So I got into Teach for America and teaching low income housing students. And my other option was working at Oracle, which was a Fortune 100 company in tech sales. And I was so stoked to get Teach for America because that's what I wanted to do. I remember looking back when I was a little kid, I would teach my stuffed animals, and they had that black and white marble notebooks with their names on them, and had a chalkboard and would teach them. So I think I was always inclined to teach and educate others. And my parents basically said, we didn't pay for your USC tuition to go become a teacher. You're not going to ever be able to pay off your debts from there. So then I took the Oracle route, and just a few years into it, I remember staying late at Oracle and the lights would turn off, and then I had to like jump up to turn it all back on. And then people would come back from the gym at like sometimes 8, 9 p.m. and then just pick something up. They're like, oh, the light's still on. Like, why are you still here? I was like, I'm trying to buy a house before I'm 28 years old. So I remember saying that to one of my friends, my colleagues, and just worked on that and hustled hard, made good money and commissions at my corporate job. And then suddenly I just realized it's like, okay, like now I'm doing pretty well. I started looking at real estate seminars and reaching out to my parents to see how can we fast pace this growth of getting my house at 28, and then just learning and educating myself. I realized that you don't need the money right away, or you don't have to have that down payment and save up all that cash. You can learn how to leverage and then be able to purchase a house. So we leveraged a home equity line of credit for my parents' house for the down payment. I got the mortgage. So it's basically almost all bank money for my first house. I rented out the other rooms. I was making basically $200 cash flow and living free in the Bay Area, which is kind of crazy for a lot of people. And seeing that at the age of 23, I was like, okay, how do I do more of this? So then I did more research, went on a lot of different podcasts and listened to those and figured out, okay, the next step is buying out-of-state investment properties. So then I bought my first property in Huntsville, Alabama, and I was like, okay, I want to buy more. How do I do that? And I was interviewing for a bunch of different jobs to increase my income because I was maxed out to my debt to income ratio. And then I realized that there was just like some itch there. I always made it to the final round, but once I got to the interview, I was like, this is not for me. And then suddenly, funny you say it was 30 under 30. We're both 30 under 30. There was one finalist who made the top 50, and I knew him from social media and actually reached out and interviewed him as an agent when I was looking to buy my house. I didn't end up using him, but he followed up and asked, hey, do you know if anyone looking to get into real estate and joining a team? And I actually never thought I would become a real estate agent. I was like, oh no, I have this secure job with my W-2, and yes, I'm making good commissions, but going to full commissions was very scary at that age, especially now I have a mortgage. But the mortgage is being paid by my roommates, so that helped ease a little of the pain. And then I was like, okay, it makes sense. And he gave me an offer to just do it part-time. And then I thought about it. I was like, I don't want to basically go in like 50% into one job and 50% into this. So if I want to go into anything, I'm just going to go full force. And I gave my 2 weeks notice to my employer at Oracle, and he's like, basically there's no 2 weeks notice, so if you want to leave, you got to leave now. And then I called Wilson, who's my broker mentor, and he's like, I'm actually going to join your team full-time now. So that's the story of how I got the last few years.
Yeah, I love it. So, that's a scary move too, because you're working for this amazing company, you've got the job security. And a lot of times it can be scary because of the buy-in of our families and friends, and they hear about the failure rate of entrepreneurs, the failure rate of realtors. And, did you have any of that resistance getting into it, or did you just know that this was the best move and you had the support?
Initially, I had some questions and thoughts, but actually, during that year, one other girl I knew who was a mutual friend of someone else, Jamie Tien, and she was a 30 under 30, same age group as I was, and she was selling all these multi-million-dollar houses in Beverly Hills at 20-something years old. And she went to UCLA, which is very similar to USC. I was like, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too. So she was a big inspiration. She hopped on a call with me and just seeing how simple it was. And you just got to do the work and the grind. And it's not hard work. Our work is just talking to people.
Yeah. Now, I love that mentality because so many people think that it is difficult work, and I'm always sitting there thinking it's like, okay, I'm in an air conditioned office. I've got cold water. Like the hardest part is being rejected with somebody telling us no. But a lot of people don't have that same framework,
Mm-hmm.
that same mindset. So I'm curious, what do you attribute, or when it comes to the training that you had at Oracle, because I mean, you're selling technology, one of the top companies in the world. What was that training and that experience a great springboard to help you prep for your sales career in real estate?
Yeah, definitely. I would say they taught us Sandler training, going through the pain funnel, they would say it, figuring out what BANT is, budget, authority, need, and timeline, and then just going through lots of calls. So we were just like inside sales reps initially. So I got promoted to outside combination hybrid later on. However, the first thing was like just making calls, making 50 to 100 calls per day. And I would always make friends with the gatekeepers and all that. And I did well doing that way. So now like looking back, I'm like, it's being in quarantine, we're thinking, oh, we can't meet and see people. But I actually, right now, I drove 5 hours down from where I live to my brother's just to be away from being able to show property. So I can actually take a step back so I can leverage my team and figure out how can I just run my business virtually. And I was doing it at Oracle. So I sold a bunch of technology and database, which I didn't even understand, but people still bought it. And I was like, how do I do this virtually now? So I think that really helped. And another great thing is the network I've built from it. I'm helping a lot of my past colleagues purchase homes right now. They might have not been quite ready at the time, but now they know, hey, we've got to reach out to Jennie. Like she's the one, she's crushing it, and I've already helped some people. So it's just like spreading that word of mouth throughout.
Yep. Love it. So, then, walk us through your first year, because I mean, we know the stats, what's it, 90% of agents fall their first 3 years, become a statistic. And you obviously, went out there and kicked some massive ass and continue to kick massive ass. But I'm curious, what did that first year look like? Because, one thing I think it's important for our audience to understand is you're also in one of the most competitive markets in the world when it comes to real estate. My brother lives in San Jose, and I have a lot of great friends that are realtors in your market, and the Bay Area is tough. Right? So walk us through, like, what did the first year or so look like, and how did you build up? What were the things that you did to build up the momentum to create what you've created?
Yes, definitely. So a lot of it I do attribute to my mentor and being a part of amazing team where I was just a second buyer's agent. But I attributed a lot of the success from just figuring out ways to connect with people and sharing my big why. And my big why, as I mentioned, my parents worked 12, 14-hour days in a clothing factory. So figure out, hey, how can I help them retire sooner? And they're not getting any younger, especially with everything going on. I want to make sure I can spend more time with them. I'm actually from New York City, so they're out there quarantined, and I want to be able to eventually, like soon, and like maybe in the next 2 years, buy a big house for them out here, the big backyard with an ADU or a pool house, so that they can live there and they can just plant their like food that they don't even have to go outside of the house, like their tomatoes and avocados and all this stuff. So that is my big why. I always think and envision what that house looks like every single morning, and that we're gonna be together again because we're across country. So that's my first thing. And I had that initial goal, talking to these 30 under 30 finalists. And even before I got licensed, I said, I'm Jennie Lok and I'm 30 under 30. I said that affirmation every single day. And in less than 2 years, I was able to get that recognition within my first try of applying for it. So that's the first mindset. And then how I got some of my first deals was I didn't want to spend that much money. I basically had no income coming in. I put all this money into the house. I'm not paying rent, which was a good thing. But overall, I had to be lean and mean. So I actually got my first deal from Craigslist. I looked up all the estate sales, reached out to them, emailed them, and said, hey, we have a family looking to purchase a home in this area, and curious to see what your goals are with the home. And then got a few bites, but then and then a lot of them didn't turn into anything. I probably sent out 200 different emails of Craigslist, and then actually went to some estate sales. I would buy puzzles for like $2 and just like random stuff just to talk up with the heirs. And then my first deal came from Craigslist, and I met with them, and he knows a lot of real estate agents as well too, the seller, the son. And however, I set myself apart by just sharing my big why with them. Hey, this is where I came from, and this is what I want to accomplish. I want to help my parents retire. What are some of your goals? I noticed that, and they just got a new son. So they had a young daughter and then a newborn son. So what I actually did was like searched on Google and found his address and sent his daughter a Disney children's storybook, and I was like, here's for you to read to your new baby brother. And then after he got that, he was like, thank you so much for that. I'm willing to sit down and meet with you to discuss selling this house. And that became a $2 million listing in San Mateo. We sold over 2 million, and he was super happy and for the family. And then that led into more, and I actually done probably a couple of other estate sales from Craigslist deals from then for listings. And that's all free except for the $20 Disney storybook that I paid for.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful, that relationship element, because it's easy to be, for the general public to see us as a commodity unless we do things above and beyond to signify the relationship. And now from there, I know that you've went and got your I don't know the exact name of the designation.
Senior real estate specialist.
The what?
The senior real estate specialist.
Yeah. So is that, when you started seeing that you were having success with that, did you just get like ultra focused and niche down on that one area?
I definitely think it's important to focus on two different areas. So mine was initially a lot of first-time home buyers, and then the niche area of helping the elderly. So I realized, and I was looking at all these stats of all the homes that were sold, and someone has passed away. And that's when they don't have as much of an emotional tie, and they don't want to deal with this property anymore. They might have grown up in the home, but these are people likely to sell. So I realized that this was a great market, and they need a lot of help. A lot of people might just list it with a family friend or just try to sell it on their own, but realize, so he wanted to sell it for 1.8 million, would have been happy with that. But I got him over $2 million. So made him over $200,000 from just a few months of prep work. So I realized that was the target market I did want to reach out to. So I actually do a lot of targeting, reaching out and figure out who has passed away and how can I reach out to the family members to just show support, not necessarily sell their house, but hey, is there anything we can help with? Everyone who, if anyone passes away, everyone needs a stepped-up base letter. So a value of the home to figure out for taxes, to not have to pay for taxes down the road. So I would just come in with that value. And then from there, I've gotten a lot of success. And when I have specific buyers looking in a certain neighborhood, I would look up what we call death of joint tenants and figure out who has passed, and then backtrack and send their family members letters of, hey, we want to buy in this neighborhood. Actually had a great call this morning, and his mom passed away 2 years ago, and his dad is living in this 5-bedroom, 3-bath house, and it's way too big for him. So they're looking to downsize. So that we're setting a meeting for next week to potentially have the buyer buy this house off market. So that's happened a few times actually. And I think finding out creative ways, I realize a lot of these population don't really know how to deal with it. And it's very stressful. So just managing that process with them. And it's actually led me to start wanting to create residential assisted living facilities too. And I know you probably interviewed some people and have to dig into those, but that's a next path that I'm looking into, because there's such a great need for this population that is not giving the support right now.
Yeah. So then, I'm curious because you're leading with so much value, right? You're not just leading with hey, you want to buy or sell your house, right? You're leading with things that they need, that they may not know that they need. And, what are things that you do to research to identify, whether it's the niche that you're in or just if any niche that anybody's maybe thinking about getting in, right? To be able to lead with that contribution of value, because that's so important. What are some of the ways that you research it and come up with the things of value that you can lead the relationship off with?
So figuring out how to provide value by just educating them on what examples of Prop 60 and Prop 90. In California, we have something where you can transfer your property tax basis if you sell and get a smaller home. So a lot of people are downsizing. They don't want to pay that higher tax amount. So a lot of people don't know certain counties can do this. So just letting them know of that way, and seeing if there's any help that they need, especially right now. It's like, hey, do you need help with groceries? Do you need help with any support? Since a lot of these people are living by themselves. I would like to share a story that actually helped us present a seller with, where the seller, she was planning to move down to the SoCal area to be closer to her sister. And then she actually signed a listing agreement with a different agent. And the agent was recommended by a neighbor who does landscaping for the yard. And they signed the listing agreement. And then that listing agent said, hey, let's go to Bank of America and create a joint bank account with us. So the proceeds from the house, I can help you invest that money. And one of my neighbors who referred me to her, she said, hey, is this normal? Do real estate agents open bank accounts with their sellers? It's like, no, definitely not. So then I told them this is not legal. It's not okay. Like maybe they can help guide you and on investing in some other channels, but you do not ever create a joint bank account with someone. So then they canceled that listing agreement. We went in, basically cleaned the whole house, sorted all her stuff, and within 3 days, put her stuff in a moving truck, and then she moved down, and then we sold the house. And it's pending currently right now, all during shelter in place, which is crazy. But got 5 offers for her, well above what she was expecting, close to like 80 grand above what she was hoping for. And I realized that there's such a need, and this generation with like their baby boomers and their parents, they don't really know what's right and what's wrong. So there's a lot of elder abuse happening. So that's where I wanted to really help and educate people in different ways, like something simple. Hey, it's not legal to create a joint bank account. Don't follow these scams of when people are calling asking for like gift cards because we have your grandson hostage or something. So many people fall victim to this. So that's where I'm coming of value, just educating people.
Yep. Love it. So I'm curious, because it sounds like you started off on a team. And then now today, it sounds like you have your own team. So at what point did that transition start to take place where, you decided, all right, I'm ready to go on my own. And then you're from there, your team kind of start taking place?
Great question. So I'm actually still on a team, but I've created a team within my team. So that's where I really believe in synergy, and why recreate something that was not broken. And like when we have massive success, and with the branding of the team, we can go further and take more market share together. So I have showing assistants and buyer agents and partners and DCs helping me, but it's also helping the whole team. So how I built that was just becoming a mentor and getting some of my friends in the business too, and realizing, hey, this is a great opportunity. You're not happy in your current job right now, and this allows you a lot more freedom where you will make it more potential more money, but but it's not just about the money. It's also about like, hey, how can you help and provide more impact for people and change their lives and get into a nicer home from an apartment that they're quarantined in, and to move into a larger home. So a lot of these different aspects of day to day, and just reaching out, coaching people, and just coming from value, and then expanding from there.
Yep. Love it. So then, I'm curious when I've met so many people that were like rock stars in the corporate world, sit in whatever their sales job, or maybe they led a big sales team, and then they jump into real estate as a real estate agent. And, I don't know if it's because of the accountability's not there, right? Like we don't have a manager looking over our daily KPIs, reprimanding us, and, you've got to be self-accountable, right? Can you kind of walk us through what you've did and what you continue to do to keep that self-accountability, so you're not just sleeping until noon and then chillaxing, now that accountability is not there?
Yeah. So within our team and the team we've created within my team, we always have morning meetings. So I meet with my team every single day, doing a morning huddle at 8:30. We go over our gratitudes and our wins, and then go over some script practice and role play, or going over what the market currently is right now. And that's every single day so that gets me out of bed. And then other things that I'm doing, and I like to switch it up a bit, but I have this 100-point daily checklist that I got from a different realtor from a webinar, and I've been following that. So different points, like every single call is 1 point. So our goal is to have 100 points every single day. And then reading is like 20 points, exercising is 20 points, a listing appointment is 15 points, writing an offer is like 5 points, and role playing script practice another 5 or 10 points. So adding this up, so it like changes up the day. So it's not like just calls, like 100 calls a day. So it makes me think of different parts of both personal and professional. So doing this consistently really helps out, and just making sure, I think first and foremost, like the routine of calling my mom and dad every single day is very important, because they're my big why. So I want to start the day with calling them, and now seeing them on FaceTime, figuring out, okay, like they are why I'm waking up, making these calls, getting rejections over their phone, people hanging up on me. But I'm going to help other families, because I push that goal of that house with the pool house and the big yard and the trees sooner if I just follow the activities.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's like a vision board on steroids almost, right? That it's that daily reminder. That's huge. And then, I'm curious too, and this happens with new agents, but especially when you combine the new as well as being so young, right? Because you jumped in the business so young, and then also being new, a lot of real estate agents have I guess that fear, the insecurity of, oh, I'm new, I can't bring value to the table, and so forth. And then you combine that being so young, when I think the average age of the average realtor is 57, right? What were some of the things that you did? And maybe you didn't have those insecurities, but if you did, what were some of the things that you did to push through it anyway and overcome those insecurities?
Mm-hmm. I always see that there's two different sides of everything that you say and a story. And it's like, okay, you are too young. It's like, how do I shift that story of saying, awesome, I am young, and this is a amazing thing where I have so much energy. I actually don't have kids right now, so I'm able to respond to you at night, and I don't like, this is my full-time job and I'm fully dedicated to you. So I think just shifting that, and like once you do have kids, be like, hey, like I value my time and I'm going to be very effective and purposeful. So shifting every single story into a more positive light. So I think what my coach always says is like, what's the more energy rich way of saying what you just said? And I always challenge like my boyfriend, my friends in that same way, like when they feel somewhat a little down, or even it's like a neutral saying like, oh, she's young or she's 25. Tell me that story in a more energy rich way.
Yeah, love it. No, I'm writing fast as you're talking there, taking notes. So no, I love that. That's so powerful. And then all right, if we were to transition, because like during this time, I mean you've sold a lot of homes, you continue to sell a lot of homes, you continue to develop and build your team, but you've also acquired a ton of real estate. You know, I mean, is at least the times with my notes when we booked this interview, maybe more now with you buying deals, but it was 22 rental units that you've acquired in just these few years. You know, kind of walk us through that. What has been your plan, budget, so forth? Because I think at the end of the day, almost every realtor's dream is to be an investor where they can become their own clients and, you know, not have to rely on. Because one of the things that sucks about being a realtor is you close one deal and then you're unemployed again until you get the next deal, you know, right? So yeah, I'd love to hear more about how you've acquired so much real estate in such a short period of time.
Yes. And I would attribute it, like I do purchase these properties with my boyfriend, and actually coached him and trained him into going to these seminars. And I remember when we were younger, he would be going out with his friends and drinking. And then I dragged him on Sunday morning when he was hungover to this real estate seminar. He's like, I don't want to go. I was like, you need to come with me. So now we've created a plan of how much we want per month for passive income, which the initial goal was $10,000 per month passive income, and just looking at the ROI or the cash on cash return per property and just sharing it with people. Hey, this is our goal. We want to purchase these properties. So we have 2 in the Bay Area, and then we have 3 fourplexes in Kansas City, Missouri, and then a fourplex in San Antonio, and then a few single family homes in Dallas and San Antonio. And then I'm doing a 1031 exchange from my Huntsville property to another fourplex. So that's where just figuring out like, hey, I want it to be, that's also going back to your last question, is like, how do I set myself apart? It's like, I'm actually living and breathing buying, and I'm a buyer myself. So I think that's one key thing. Interviewing a lot of other agents, I've learned a lot how to become a better agent myself, because I'm interviewing a lot of agents, figuring out what I don't like and what I do like. And how I acquired them is just setting a goal and a budget. And every year we want to purchase X amount of properties, and letting people in our network know this is what we want to purchase. And then just spending some time on going on like Redfin and Zillow or on the online tools, looking at some properties. And some properties we actually purchase without any of our own money down. We got private money lenders from family and friends to put in for the down payment, and then we're giving them a 8% return, which is a lot higher than what they're getting in their bank account, 0.001%. So, but the 8% is coming from the rental that's the tenant is paying. So they put in the, let's say $30,000 for a down payment that we use, and we're just giving them the return. And then we got the mortgage out under our names and bought that property, and the tenant is paying like the whole mortgage, the property taxes, and the insurance, and the interest for our private money lender. And we're cash flowing like $100. It's not too crazy. But then we bought this money, this house, like without any of our money down. So it's like important to educate yourself, to realize, to give other people confidence. And after I shared the story, it's like, I have 15K, I have 20K, like, can we invest with you? So those are just putting it out there and realizing you don't have to have the money to invest.
Yeah, love it. So when you're buying out-of-state properties, because there's a lot of markets that like your market is an example where it's very difficult to get cash flowing properties in their current market, but there's always a great market to be able to buy in if you're willing to go out of state or sometimes even out of country. And you know, what are some of the things that you look for in a market that you're looking to invest in? And maybe a better way to ask the question is, what are some things or lessons learned of how to protect yourself? Because it can be scary investing in something that you can't drive by, you can't see, you know, right? It might be 1,000 miles away from you and so forth.
Yes. And I think that's what I'm going through with my Huntsville property. I think I was like just very eager to buy something. And I never looked at it. But a lot of the properties we've bought, we actually have never looked at. It's just having a good core team of a real estate agent and some property managers out there, and then they can refer you to contractors and other people out there to scope out the work. And the first and foremost is going face to face with them. I think the key thing is like looking at them FaceTime and not just a call. And like whenever people ask me for some of my time, like, hey, I want to become a next 30 under 30 realtor, I'm like, okay, let's FaceTime. And so I can see your face, so you're actually listening to me. And then I can actually build that relationship virtually with these agents. And then they're doing virtual like video tours and coaching them and training them that way. So that's one key thing, really finding your core people first, and then also looking at the market as well too. So markets that we looked at, we actually looked at the back historical trends of what took a big hit in 2008, where were the prices where it depreciated a lot. And that was like Las Vegas took a big hit, Florida took a good amount of hit as well too. So that's why we really liked San Antonio in Texas, because it was only about like a 3 to 5% depreciation during that time. So we're like, okay, this makes sense, because if we go through another turn, we might not get great appreciation, but at least like it's going to be stable, and we're going to have constant tenants coming in to rent it out, and the value won't depreciate that much. So, and then other tips we look at, I'm sure you've heard of the 1% rule. Buying something, let's say for $150,000, we want it to rent out for $1,500 a month. So that's our first rule of thumb.
Yeah, love it. So then, I mean, now that you're buying more than multi-unit stuff, is that where you see your focus going in the future? Or are you guys still, if a single family makes sense, are you still going down that path as well?
Our key is really to diversify as much as possible, because there's certain types of tenants who are going to live in the multi-units, and then there's certain types of tenants who want to live in the single families. The single family, the great thing about that is you can sell it easily to other people, other retail buyers, versus a fourplex is likely going to be sold to another investor. So I think we're still going to purchase both, but we're leaning a little more towards the 4 units at this time, because each person can have 10 loans under their name with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So we want to maximize to get at least like 4 times 10, like maybe 40 units under each of our names. So that'll become 80 units, but still having maybe not fully with that. And then eventually like having some single family for the appreciation.
Yeah, love it. So, I'm curious, when, you made a comment earlier of you living, eating, and breathing real estate, right? Because you're working with your buyers and sellers, coaching and mentoring teammates, acquiring real estate after the fact. And, I mean, is there ever an off switch, or is that something that it just doesn't even cross your mind because you're so passionate about this industry?
Yeah, so I always say that from saying that we hear is you have either a job, a career, or a calling. And in the Japanese culture, it's called an ikigai. So ikigai is something where you're really called to do something for the rest of your life. And in Japan, people don't truly retire. They don't have like a 65-year-old retirement plan. They work, like you've probably heard of Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Like he's gonna make sushi until he dies. So I think that's something where it might not be necessarily selling real estate, but being in the real estate industry and field, because of the great opportunities it's able to lead us to, and teaching other people to come along with us in this journey, in this pathway, is what I love to live, eat, and breathe. And this is going to be my calling. Like even when I'm 80 or 90, I'm probably going to be like running these residential assisted living facilities or other things that I'm passionate about, to give back. And I think it's always thinking about like, how do I give back and come from impact, and not about the job, not about the money. It's like, how do I make the world a better place? So that's where, to be honest, yeah, most of my life and my brain is like wired to be around real estate. There sometimes is like turn switch where, okay, I'm going to go travel and spend time with my family, or go try new foods and do other things, go snowboarding, but it's still like, hey, how do I improve and impact other people? Like whenever we go on snowboarding trips on the lifts, like we're talking about investing and other things. So I feel like there's never fully an off switch.
Yeah, no, I love that. So then, there's Jim Rohn has a famous quote out there: "You're an average of the 5 people that you spend most time with." And you just talk about, okay, even when we're on our snowboarding trip, we make it where it's a little bit of fun and play, our fun play and masterminding, working, and so forth. How important is your inner circle, if you will, of friends contribute to your success? I mean, is that something that you kind of live by and make sure to surround yourself with people that, you mentioned the job, career, passion, right, that are going after and seeking their passion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that quote. And actually, when hiring people in our interview process, I asked them, like, before, when we could ask what people make, would be like, who are your best friends? Who are the 5 people closest to you? What do they do? And then how much do they make? Because you are actually an average of the income as well too, not just personality wise. So then it gives us a good idea of the candidate that we're bringing onto the team, who they like to surround themselves with and how passionate they are. So I think it's really important. I think having my boyfriend, my significant other, being a part of this is really important. He's definitely one of my top 5, and then my team as well too. And I think that's the fun thing about this is, like, I've brought in my friends to join my team and I created that 5, and we're always looking to grow and improve as well too, and expand that to other networks. But I like during this time, like, I'm not playing Animal Crossing like a lot of other people are doing, or playing these video games or watching Netflix. I'm trying to figure out how do we brainstorm with other people, doing these awesome strategy sessions to create courses, create a residential assisted living plan, and help them with their goals. So everything is geared towards that. And hopefully I'm not sound too crazy by doing that all the time.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So, do sometimes when we get involved in multiple different arenas, right? As an example, like, today I'm running my team, and then I've got my software company and consulting company, and, and sometimes I ask this question too with entrepreneurs that have multiple different businesses, if they find themselves being pulled more to one, or they see themselves maybe doing that more in the future. And then sometimes I love doing all of it. I see, and I'm curious with you of, do you see yourself more pulled towards one than the other, meaning the team element versus the real estate investing? Or is this one of these things where you love them just both and you see yourself doing those both equally long term?
Yeah, the great thing about our business is so many of the things go hand in hand together, and where people are asking us about, hey, how did you get into real estate investing? And then they're going to think of me, hey, I invest, so then I'm going to refer Jennie to my other friends who are looking to buy property in the Bay Area. So I don't think there'll ever be a full off switch, but I think in the future is, how do I scale this bigger? And yes, if they want to purchase with me a property locally, I'm just going to refer them to my buyer's agent and have them work with them, showing the properties, running the deals. I can coach them on the side, but figuring out what my dollar per hour worth is, and is it well spent, like showing homes? Probably not. It's like, hey, how do I coach more people and bring them on? And then it can go into these ancillary businesses, because when I'm reaching out to my target market, my target niche, which is the senior citizens and the elderly, they have all these properties that might need some work, and we can maybe purchase them and turn them and convert them into residential assisted living facilities where their friends and other people can live in these homes, and not go to a nursing home, but live in like a small 5-bedroom home with some friends and people to care for them.
Yep. Yep. Love it. So then, you've got a lot going on, right? With building and continuing to grow the investment portfolio, plus you're active in the production with buyers and sellers. You got your real estate team. I'm curious what your day-to-day, when it comes to not just like what do you do day-to-day, but more of what's your intentionality for your planning and reflection process. right? Because I find that high performers like you usually have, a very strict daily planning process and so forth. And, so with that being said, I mean, do you have a process that you go through each day to make sure that you're intentional with that time is spent so you can get all of this stuff done and not accidentally lose focus on an area that's extremely important and so forth?
Yeah. Sounds like the podcast I listened to of yours this morning. I'll have you blocked out every single hour and plan the night before. And I think that was very helpful. I think that's something I'm definitely going to implement and just follow suit with. I think right now I give myself a little more flexibility at this time, just because I don't want to put too much on my plate, because I've in the past have burnt out and I would just not want to work anymore. And I just I think my first 2 years, like each year close to Christmas time, I just bought a flight randomly, going back home to New York to see my parents, and didn't do work for 2 weeks. So now it's like, how do I convert that and take some breaks and implement, okay, now I'm ready for my meditation session. I'm just going to do a 10-minute meditation to let myself breathe and not think about anything. I've done some Wim Hof exercises as well too, and just to get that energy level going back up. So I do follow, I think the only thing is hey, following this 100-point schedule and figure out, okay, I want to get to my 100 points and I'm going to get that. And then my day is going to be a win. And calling my mom every day is what I want to keep consistent. But then I would love to maybe get some of your guidance to help how to structure that without getting too burnt out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, it's a process and it takes a lot of experimentation, but I'll send you, if you watch that video, I'll make sure when we get done to shoot you my daily planner. I built a customized 6-page, half of it's planning, half of it's for reflection, but it's, it's taking it day by day, especially in this business, right? Because something comes up and it's like if a listing appointment comes up, it's like, well, I don't want to schedule that for 2 weeks out. I want it within 24 to 48 hours. More time that goes on is, the more likely they're going to cancel and so forth. So, we've got to have that balance of being proactive, but then having some, I guess, leniency to be reactive at the same point. And so I'll make sure to shoot you that too. So then with that, that's when you talk about the burnout, what are things that you've done to recoup? Because that's something I hear from a lot of real estate agents when they get burnout, because it's like, what do you do to recharge? I always compare this to working out, right? It's like, all right, this morning I did shoulders and I worked out for about 45 minutes, roasted my shoulders, right? But then now it's like, okay, hey, my shoulders are going to need 4 or 5 days to rest, recuperate, right, before I can retrain them. And there is an element that I think in the entrepreneurial world anymore, it's all hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind. Well, dude, there's power in the pause, right? And there's times where you need that 2-week flight to go chill with the family to regroup. And when you're sensing that element of burnout, what are things that you do to recharge that you find to be effective that almost give you more energy to allow you to springboard back?
Mm-hmm. First thing a lot of people do, and what I've learned, is just being out in nature, looking at the tree on your side with the success, even seeing some greenery is really important. Just going out for a walk and just refreshing the mind, not having your phone with you, I think is important. Just being away from technology for a little bit, for 20, 30 minutes is an important part of my day. And other things long-term, I do go on a lot of coaching and achievement aligned in alignment exercises where we're focusing within, the energy within, because a lot of people are so go, 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 but then they are some of the unhappiest people in the world. So how do you really find true happiness internally within your own body? And one of the things I mentioned is reshifting every single story you tell yourself or things that you hear from someone else and telling it in a more energy rich way. And those are things that I do on a regular basis to constantly stay motivated and realize sometimes if you do burn out, and it's okay, when you're having emotional roller coasters, which this business is, and if you're sad, be sad, because it's if you're always happy all the time, then you're not going to truly know what happiness is. So if you're going through some of the sadness, realize There's life is 50-50, like sadness and happiness, like negative and positive. So just like, okay, reflect on that and then just shift it. It's like, how do I grow from this? And other things I teach myself is like, if things are going wrong, what's the lesson? What is the future me going to appreciate and look back and like the lesson I'm going to learn from this? If I've lost out on this deal, I've had this buyer say, oh, I want to work with a different agent, or have a conflict with a coworker or team member. It's like, okay, what is the gift in this moment? And that really helps me reshift and focus and realizing everything is happening for a reason. So just take it in and appreciate it.
Yeah, so powerful. Yeah, it's growth only comes from suffering. And when you understand that, it's like, all right, we're either experiencing happiness in life or we're experiencing growth. Either way, it's good. And when you have that right perspective, it can be such a game changer. And I love hearing that. So, I'm curious. We're going to get a lot of 30 under 30 people that are listening to this, that just like mine and your dream, a big part of our, not our only dream, but a big part of our dream was becoming a 30 under 30 finalist. I know that was, you mentioned that was on your vision board. Same thing for, as me for a lot of years when I first got in the industry. Because what'd you say, you got in at 23?
27. I bought my house at 23 and then
Oh, okay.
got
Yep.
in at 26. So I'm 27.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. So what advice would you give for somebody that was wanting to apply for the 30 under 30, and that is part of their vision board, their dream board? What kind of advice would you give them? Because it sounds like you're getting those phone calls, right? When you jump on that FaceTime call, when somebody's calling you up saying, hey, I want to win this. What kind of advice would you give? For those that are listening to this, man, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is never count or calculate your commissions, because you're going to think about that deal and work with that client. They're going to see the commission breath. So it's like, think about every single person that you're working with. How can I help and leave it better than I found it? Is a saying that we always share is, how do I leave this conversation better than we started from? How do we, and whether the outcome is going to be a sale or not, it's just like, okay, always leaving something better, and then realizing you're planting all these seeds and growing to this amazing like forest future on. And other tips is to reach out, and I'm always open to having a call as well too, to be able to just share my journey, and I think figure out what their big why is, what your big why is, of why you're doing it every day. And hopefully the why is not money. I think some people just say money, money, money. Real estate is a lot of money, but it's like, okay, like what does that money do for you? Why is that important? How will your life transform from that? So living from that purpose every single day and just focusing on that, and having the affirmation too, saying, yes, I'm Jennie and I'm 30 under 30, even when I didn't get that recognition yet. But things do come true when you do speak to it. Like some days I would write on my affirmation, my 100-point checklist. It's like, I'm going to sell this house and I'm going to get a listing call. And like, I actually do that day. So it's crazy things when you write down and when you say it out loud, that you're calling something to actually come true and happen.
Yep. Love it. Powerful stuff. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't, you applied the first time and bam, got in there. I got denied the first 2 years in a row. And finally, I was 29 when I finally won it. So it was like the last year I could qualify. And, the one thing I realized, because I get ticked. I'd be like, dude, my production is so much higher than a lot of these others. Like, why am I not winning it? But I didn't have the contribution piece, right? And then I realized that's where I was going wrong. And as soon as I, showcased more of that and got more involved in the local community and so forth, because it looks like, 30 under 30 is looking for not just big production, but also how are you contributing to make this industry better and the, the real estate community better and so forth. So love it. So I'm interested, with I know that it's been a short career per se, right? And you've had so much success in a short period of time here. But knowing everything right now, if Jennie today could go back to Jennie, a few years back when you first got into real estate, and give yourself two pieces of advice during that conversation that would have just fast forwarded your trajectory to success, what would those two pieces of advice look like? And maybe it doesn't even have to be when you first got into real estate. It could be when you graduated college, at any point that you choose, where yourself today could have a conversation with the younger Jennie.
Yeah. This is definitely always a great question. And I think my counter side is saying everything happens for a reason, and you are meant to go through that journey to be who you are today, or you won't be who you are. But I would say if I look back, and it's just to spend more time with your loved ones and figure out what they want and like what they need as well too, and make that your big purpose. And also I think just making more like connections with people. I think looking at the real estate side specifically, I think I should have been more detailed with my sphere of like creating a database, and I'm still working on that. But it's like, okay, how do I reach out to them directly? And I think the first thing I should have just called everyone, hey, I'm in real estate, and letting them know, because now I would say like 2-3 years later, then they're coming from my actions. But if I worked on earlier on, instead of like knocking on thousands of doors of people I don't know, maybe just working with people I do know, because I have so much more joy in helping people I do know, and my friends, and versus someone that's like far removed from me.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So Jennie, for those that are watching and listening, if they want to continue to follow you, check out what you're up to, maybe they have a referral for your market, maybe they're in another market where they've got an amazing fourplex, an amazing deal for you, or whatever it may be, where's the best place for people to get in touch with you, to follow you, to continue seeing all the amazing stuff that you're up to?
Yeah, I would say Instagram is where I'm on most of the time, and it's just my name at Jennie Lok, JennieLok, and my hashtag is unlock your potential with the LOK. So I want to help you guys all unlock your potential, and also have the feedback back as well too. If you guys have fourplexes and deals, love to share and bounce ideas off on how we can strategize and build wealth together, and not just be real estate agents, but live and breathe and become investors, so we're not having to grind out every single day showing properties.
Yeah, love it. Such powerful stuff. And those watching and listening, I know I interview podcasts with this, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it. That gives you the power to create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Jennie shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you today. Make sure to take something that you learn and, again, take action on it so you can go out there and, again, create that life you know you want and deserve. And Jennie, truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. It's been a massive honor. It's been a lot of fun. I know we're all in lockdown quarantine with all this COVID-19. So I appreciate you taking time, especially during this time and out of your busy day, man. This has been amazing.
Yeah, so it was so fun, and I'm excited to learn more from you and hear other podcasts and interviews from other guests.
Yeah, 100%, my friend. It truly means a lot. Thank you again. And you guys are watching, listening again. Thanks so much for all your support, and we'll see you next time. Peace.